Welcome back to Dieu Han RV. Wherever you're watching from, I wish you peace, health, and comfort. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Your presence matters. Today, our story begins before sunrise. Little Tom stirred, and those hands had throbbed and her limbs trembled from fever. She opened her eyes. She didn't want to wake up. She was sick, tired, and overwhelmed. But the sound of her child's voice broke through the fog. She couldn't ignore it. Her entire body felt heavy, like her bones no longer belonged to her. Every breath burned. But she pulled herself up, not out of strength, but because she had no choice. The weight of motherhood wasn't just about feeding or clothing a child. It was about being present, no matter how broken you were. Dieu Han's heart whispered, "Tom needs me." So she walked slow, shaky, but determined. She didn't know where her energy came from. Only love could push her like that. As she stirred the pot of rice, her hands trembled. The smell of warm porridge rose, but her stomach felt hollow. She hadn't eaten. Her vision blurred, her knees weak. Still, she moved gently, carefully, every motion for Tom. She thought to herself, no one sees this part of motherhood, not the loneliness, not the quiet sacrifices. She missed having someone to lean on, just for a moment. But she kept going. Because love, for a mother, doesn't stop for weakness. It only deepens. Do you believe strength means hiding pain? Would you have done the same in Dieu Han's place? Comment below. And if you feel moved by her quiet courage, please like, share, and subscribe. Every click helps us tell stories that matter. Dieu Han didn't ask for applause. She just wished someone noticed. Someone who'd say, "I see you, that's all." In a world that often forgets quiet heroes, maybe we can remember them together, one story at a time. Dieu Han looked at Tom's little feet tapping across the floor. He was growing fast, too fast. Soon he'd be in school, asking questions she didn't have answers to. Would she be enough? Could she give him the life he deserved? These thoughts wrapped around her heart like vines. She didn't want Tom to feel her struggles. She wanted him to feel safe, free. But some days, like this one, she wasn't sure how long she could keep going alone. She placed the warm bowl of porridge on the table, called Tom gently, and smiled as he ran over. He was full of life, and that gave her strength. He refused to sit still, running around with a spoon in hand. Dieu Han followed behind, laughing quietly, feeding him one spoon at a time. It wasn't perfect, but it was love. Yet as she chased him around, part of her heart whispered, it would feel so much easier, warmer, with a man walking beside them. She imagined it, someone reaching out to carry Tom for her, someone to say, "Rest, I'll help." But there was no one. The silence in the house echoed louder after the laughter faded. She didn't resent motherhood, never. But she craved companionship. Someone to remind her she wasn't alone. She wiped the spilled porridge off the floor, her fingers trembling. Her smile faded slightly. It wasn't sadness exactly. It was weariness, the kind that builds up slowly, quietly, until it becomes part of you. As she stood up, the room shifted. Her vision blurred for a second, her knees bent slightly, but she steadied herself on the wall. Maybe she hadn't eaten enough. Maybe it was the fever returning. She closed her eyes and took a slow breath. Tom's giggle echoed from the other room, and she smiled faintly. She had to keep going for him. But the truth settled quietly inside her. Even the strongest hearts sometimes need shelter. And hers was growing tired. She reached for the edge of the table, her fingers cold and weak. In that brief moment, she wished someone would notice. Not just the sickness, but the way she kept going anyway. She wasn't asking to be saved, only seen. Was that too much? Tom ran in, his cheeks red and joyful, unaware of the storm behind her eyes. She knelt down to hug him, hiding the tremble in her arms. Love gave her strength. But love couldn't erase the weight of being everything, alone. She leaned her head against the doorframe, just for a moment. Her thoughts spiraled. Would Tom remember this part? The sacrifices. The empty mornings. or just the warmth. She hoped he'd remember her smile, not the shaking hands. She prayed he'd grow up surrounded by love, not burden. But as she stood alone, aching, she knew she'd give everything she had, again and again, just to see him thrive. That's what mothers do, even when no one sees it. Especially then. After Tom finished his breakfast, Diep Han quietly put the bowl down and wiped his mouth with a soft cloth. Her body ached all over, but she whispered to herself, just a little longer. She stepped outside, the morning air cold on her skin. Each step toward the garden felt heavy, but necessary. She needed to gather herbs, lemongrass, pomelo leaves, a few healing roots. She hoped a simple steam bath would clear her head. There was no one else to care for her but herself. The garden smelled of dew and earth. Diep Han reached down, fingers trembling, gently picking the herbs. Memory stirred. Her father's hands once did this for her. He used to prepare steam baths with care, calling it nature's way of healing. She hadn't thought of him in so long. But today, as her body weakened, that memory came rushing back. The warmth of his voice. The towel he wrapped around her. The way he sat beside her until her fever broke. She gathered the leaves into a basket slowly, her breath shallow. The cold air bit at her skin, but the memory of her father warmed her from within. She remembered how safe she felt back then. Just a child, curled up in his lap, eyes half closed as the steam rose around them. She never realized how strong he had been until now, when she had to be both mother and father to her child. That thought pierced her like a quiet ache in her chest. Back inside, she boiled water in the kitchen, placing the herbs into a large pot. The scent quickly filled the room, sharp and comforting. Diep Han knelt by the pot, draping a towel over her head. The steam rose, warm against her face, loosening her breath. She closed her eyes and let herself drift for a moment. It wasn't just the herbs, it was the memory. That deep, aching yearning for care, for protection, that no longer existed in her life now. She sat in silence under the towel, heart beating slowly, lungs filling with herbal steam. Each breath brought a wave of memory. Her father humming softly, the faint crackle of fire, the smell of pomelo leaves. Her eyes filled with tears. Not from the steam but from grief. She missed being someone's child. Now she was always the strong one. The one who stayed up late. The one who had to heal herself. And yet, she still carried that same tenderness in her hands for Tom. The steam slowed her thoughts. Diep Han leaned her head down, pressing her palms to her knees. She knew she couldn't afford to get sicker. There was no one to call. No backup. No partner. But she didn't pity herself. She just wished things were different. That someone could hold her when she was weak. That someone could tell her it was okay to rest. She wasn't angry at life. Just tired. So very tired. She lifted the towel, sweat on her brow, and the herbal scent clinging to her skin. The fever had eased a little, but her heart still felt heavy. She cleaned up slowly, glancing toward the room where Tom was playing. A soft smile curved her lips. No matter how tired she became, he was worth every breath. But the ache of loneliness never truly faded, it simply waited in the quiet moments, like a shadow beside her strength. As she returned to the room, the sound of Tom's laughter met her ears. It was enough to carry her through the rest of the day. Still, she whispered to herself, almost without realizing it, "I miss you, Dad." Her voice barely audible, caught in the steam, in the silence. She didn't say it often, but she needed to. Just once. Just to feel like a daughter again, even if only for a moment. Though her body still trembled from exhaustion, Diep Han sat beside Tom, pulling him gently into her lap. His warmth, his tiny hands, his innocent laughter, these were her anchor. Every time she felt like she couldn't go on, Tom brought her back. She stroked his hair slowly, breathing him in like medicine. The world outside was uncertain, but in this moment, his presence made it a little more bearable. He didn't know it, but he was her reason, her strength, her calm. As she held Tom tighter, a different ache stirred inside her, the ache of missing her father. He had once been her safe place, her protector. But now, he was only a shadow in memory. She didn't know where he had gone or why he never came back. But she missed him with a quiet desperation, especially in these moments. Holding Tom, she realized how much she longed to be held herself. Not as a mother, but as a daughter. Just once more, the silence in the room deepened. Diep Han stared at the ceiling, her mind drifting. She thought of the things she had buried for years, the questions, the pain, the longing. If her father were still around, would he have stayed? Would he have helped her raise Tom? These thoughts didn't come from anger, but from longing. She wanted answers. Closure. Maybe, even reconnection. The thought felt wild. But she no longer wanted to live in unanswered questions. Something had to change. Suddenly, her thoughts shifted. She remembered someone, Yen. A friend from another life. Diep Han hadn't spoken to her in a long time, but their bond had been real. She remembered Yen's eyes, always alert, always hiding pain. Had Yen found peace? Or was she still running? The memory unsettled her. She had been so consumed with survival that she had forgotten others might still be struggling. Maybe it was time to reach out, to reconnect. Not just with her father, but with Yen too. Diep Han closed her eyes and took a deep breath. What if Yen was still in danger? What if the people who had hurt her were still lurking in the shadows? The thought made her chest tighten. She had always hoped that evil would end on its own, but now she knew better. Silence didn't stop darkness. It allowed it to grow. If she truly wanted a safer world for Tom, maybe she had to start by confronting her past and the people still trapped in it. She gently moved Tom aside and stood up, the weight of her decision already pressing against her shoulders. She didn't know where to start, or even how to reach Yen. But she knew this. Staying silent would only haunt her more. Action, even uncertain, was better than regret. She would find a way. She had to. Because real love wasn't just warmth and safety. It was responsibility. It was strength. It was showing up, even when afraid. As night settled in, Diep Han sat alone by the dim window, her thoughts louder than the silence. The memory of Yen kept returning, uninvited, yet persistent. Was Yen safe? Was she still running, still afraid? And if you were in Diep Han's place, would you go searching, even with no clue where to begin? Tell us what you do. And if this story has touched you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your voice helps bring light to stories like this. She leaned back, eyes gazing into the shadows dancing on the wall. A strange feeling stirred, like something was about to shift. Change was coming, she could feel it in her bones. But would it bring healing or more pain? Have you ever felt that when life grows quiet, but your heart tells you something is about to begin? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to walk this journey with Diep Han, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter.